standing in the line for the bathroom.
Britain's music festivals are some of the best in the entire world. Mud up to your knees, the congealed smell of sweat, piss, tobacco and weed filling your nose as you struggle to see the stage, craning your neck past the tallest people you've ever seen in your life, who are, for some reason, always standing directly in front of you. People openly whacking off only a few short meters from the food stands, and all of that as the backdrop to performances by some of the greatest musical artists of all time. Unfortunately, you will likely miss at least half of Metallica's set, because the queues for the bathroom are 5 miles long at minimum. Or they were, until now.
How are you going to stop a man, a normal man, going into a woman's toilets and saying, I'm a trans man?
Other girls standing in the line for the bathroom.
I don't follow that logic.
Why?
Because the point is that we're saying that people who are biologically men shouldn't be using women's toilets. That's the point of this ruling, among other things.
But a trans man is biologically a woman.
Someone who's transitioned from being a woman to a man is...
And so they would then have to use women's toilets.
Other girls standing in the... Other girls standing in the... Other girls standing in the...
I think this...
Introducing the newest addition to the British festival scene, transgender bathroom bans. With transgender bathroom bans, you can make your festival queues even longer. Now no one will get to see the 3-hour headlining performance by Sleep Token, saving an entire festival full of people from semi-permanent brain damage. Fed up of long waits to use the most disgusting portaloos you've ever seen in your life? Well, don't be, because if you look uncomfortable, you'll earn an inspection from our newest festival employees, the Bathroom Police.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police, gender police.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police, gender police.
Need a pee too hard? You're Nick Sunshine. Time to drop trow for the most cool and normal police officers this side of the Met. Disgusted at the inevitably turd-smeared state of your assigned porter cabin? Time to drop trow, you're fucking nicked. Just going towards the bathroom in general? Nicked.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police, gender police.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police, gender police.
Drop it for the 5-0 and reveal your bits to the crowd. With transgender bathroom bans, make your festival experience one everyone will remember, and one that you'll never be able to forget. Hello, fellow backpackers. No, I am not here for Download Festival, but I am, unfortunately, on Turf Island. Back again to sort stuff out like having a passport, seeing people, having parents, and all those things. And so, unfortunately, I've had to look at this bathroom and say, can I use that? Well, not according to Download Festival policy, but let's go outside and find out if I get harassed by any bathroom cops. I mean, it is the law, isn't it? It's a shame if it was, completely unenforceable. Hello, happy campers. It's me, Bridget Empire, reporting from merry old England, or as we call it here, hell. I am, of course, the science and culture correspondent for the Daily Telegraph, the only newspaper in Britain that's still cheap enough to be used as toilet paper. Find us on your local festival circuit. Wipe your ass with Dan's handsome face and read my latest cries for help as you're detained by the local genital inspectors for serving too much cunt to pee.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police, gender police.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police, gender police.
Following the recent Supreme Court decision in the UK, many public bodies and private companies alike have been struggling to work out whether abiding by this decision and risk being sued into oblivion, or deciding not to abide by it and risk being hunted down in the middle of the night by Agent Mulder, aka J.K. Rowling, who has the bank balance of a small country and the will to spend it all trying to argue that the Supreme Court decision, despite the limitations of what it actually says, and even that being increasingly seen as wrong and a bad interpretation of the law, means that you, personally, are to plumbing what the Antichrist is to, well, Christ. Big as to pee, successful. Americans, it's like Walmart if there were no guns. Did get accosted there, not in the bathroom, at the pharmacy. by someone who was clearly on cocaine. Not sure what his problem was, but it wasn't being trans, I'll tell you that much. So off we go, another. No problems here. Now, we have a rare case of a night owl phobia taking over transphobia. Look, all these toilets are out of order. Public toilets as well. Full of locks on them as well, I think. Did you actually know how many public toilets were closed down during the austerity regime in 2010 under the coalition government? And how many have followed suit since? Just a thought on this little journey. I'm starting to realise that there might have been a fatal flaw in my plan. Not that it's impossible, I've been to lots of toilets in the last few days, never got anything, got some very trans-supportive graffiti as well, and a lot of these places, no problems, no whatever. No, the problem is, you know, for some reason I thought that within like a couple of hours, I would still need to pee everywhere I went, and it turns out, if you pee at every single place it's possible to, you're going to empty your bladder very quickly. Who would have thought? Science. Apparently unafraid of controversy, Download Festival of all places has been one of the first big major events to bite the bullet on this. Despite its huge queer audience, its apparently inclusive atmosphere, and the fact that they literally invited trans people to perform, Download Festival have announced that this year they will be following the EHRC guidance regarding transgender bathrooms. Namely, that we should be banned from the bathrooms that match our gender, and also possibly be banned from bathrooms that don't. Well, I can't say seeing a bunch of bisexuals in Slipknot shirts get so tired of waiting for a portaloo that they shit on the floor isn't something I haven't already experienced at Download. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the festival, Download Festival is a rock festival that takes place every summer in Donington Park, and is the successor to the notorious Monsters of Rock Festival. The last time I went there, I thought I was cis. And even then, the toilet situation wasn't pleasant, but then again, that's the case in any festival. Portable toilets rarely cleaned, often smeared with feces and piss, the finest in Britain. And weirdly, considering this news, mostly not gendered. They are, after all, portaloos. In fact, I would propose that it would have been better if Download had simply said nothing at all. And the fact that they said anything, let alone clarified that they would be excluding trans people from the bathroom, is a weird own goal for a place that has more gender-neutral bathrooms than a Margaret Thatcher memorial parade. So we have it on the record, however, these are the words put out by Download Festival that have got the whole trans community saying, what the fuck? And festival regulars thinking, they have gendered bathrooms? Since when? And how we found out about this policy as a community makes this even worse, since nothing would have indicated to trans people going to Download that they would have to be concerned about potentially getting harangued by the long dick of the law for using the bathroom, but also because the only info we got about this initially came in the form of an email screenshot from one of the artists Download invited to play at the festival. Rock sensation, trans man, and YouTuber NOFX. Another British trans YouTuber with a pun for a name who writes rock songs. Noah, you and I are not so different. Well, our subscriber counts are, but I digress. According to NME, with less than a month to go until the festival kicks off, NOFX has taken to social media to call out the festival for upholding a policy that prohibits trans women from using women's bathrooms and trans men from using men's facilities. In this screenshot shared by the musician, seemingly from an email query to Download, the festival's policy reads, "We are proud of the reputation the Download community has in terms of diversity, and will always look to promote the safety and comfort of all festival attendees, including transgender and non-binary customers." We will be following the interim guidance issued by the Equalities and Human Rights Commission on 25th of April 2025 here. Their guidance states that trans women, biological men, should not be permitted to use the women's facilities, and trans men, biological women, should not be permitted to use the men's facilities. Yes, I messed up the word permitted. Writing over the top of the screenshots, NOFX shared, "Hey, Download Fest, what the fuck are you doing inviting trans people to play your festival but not allowing them the simple right of using the correct bathroom? I had a great time playing last year, but I will not be attending again if I have to queue up for the ladies' bathroom and my trans sisters have to risk outing themselves in the men's bathroom. All that does is put trans people in danger. If you're playing Download Fest, attending it, or even just aware of it, say something about it." NOFX, who publicly came out as a transgender man in 2017, continued in the caption writing, What the fuck are you doing? How have you got the gall to invite trans people like me to play your festival and then ban them from using the toilet? If the only way we can piss is by outing ourselves, then you've created an unsafe environment. And it would, in fact, create an unsafe environment, and not just for trans people. If you are going to have a bathroom ban, you are going to have to enforce that ban. Otherwise, you don't have a ban. And I don't know about you, but I reckon festival toilets are disgusting enough without the additional hurdle of having to convince a police officer or security guard that you've got the right between me down there to be granted the grace of going to have a piss somewhere that stinks of farts and has about a 50% chance of giving you a venereal disease purely from touching the surfaces. Also, there's never water in these things. After those conditions, at least let me wash away the horrors if you're going to make me sit on whatever the last guy did in there while desperately trying not to K-hole. Speaking of horrors, the usual suspects, of course, use this occasion to take to X.com, the Everything app, to try and taunt NOFX for being distressed by this decision. Except, of course, the kind of chuds who like to harass trans people online have never heard of trans men, so they got a little lost, a little confused. Bless them, but don't, because they don't deserve it. Transphobes like to say, we can always tell, but clearly they cannot. Let me demonstrate. Seriously? A man complaining about not being able to predate women at a festival? You are all fucking weird, holy shit. If I had my way, I'd ban you from download. Stop spreading your shit and stay out of women's toilets. Simple. Oh, you want to use the ladies? That means women's. Well, you can't. Heh. Stay out of women's private places. Prick. If peeing with your fellow men is too much for you, I'm sure your spot can be filled. Weirdly aggressive way to demonstrate that you're a trans ally, but I suppose they ended up at the right position in the end, if entirely by accident. Besides NOFX, this caused a fair amount of panic from people who had bought tickets to download, now faced with the prospect that they would be banned from using the bathroom over the course of multiple days, which is, not something that has a physically possible solution, unless you're okay with people just shitting on the festival ground like they're cows in a field. Other acts joined in with backlash as well, unsurprisingly perhaps those with trans members, like Pink Shift, who wrote in their Instagram stories that playing Download Festival was fun last year, but what fucking music festival? Police has gendered bathrooms, that's crazy and so unsafe. Thanks Noah for being the only artist I've seen talk about this. If Download is part of your life and speak up, they think they can get away with discrimination in the ripe year of 2025. And that does raise the question, right? Why aren't more artists talking about this? If you've heard this from me for the first time, then why? I'm not even going this year. I'd like to think it's because they don't know it's a thing, since this is being uncovered by emails from trans artists over Twitter. But this should be a much bigger problem, with significant outrage from the acts. I really want to believe that people just don't know, because the alternative is really shitty to think about. And I think that is part of the problem. The Supreme Court ruling in the UK has caused so many places to panic and go back and forth on whether to police trans people in bathrooms, choosing between opening themselves up to discrimination lawsuits and treating their trans customers and artists like inhuman monsters, or risking disobeying what the government may be saying is the law of the land, which is only even an uncertainty because the Supreme Court judgment does not say what people think it does. That the EHRC, the Equality and Human Rights Commission, run by one of the most bigoted individuals in the country, and that's saying a lot, butchered even that misunderstood ruling to make it even worse somehow, and that the Supreme Court ruling itself is already on shaky ground, being openly criticised by judges, lawyers and activist groups alike, with multiple lawsuits incoming, while also openly breaking the European Convention on Human Rights, which will have consequences. With all that being said, it would probably have been for the best if Download had made no changes, did nothing and said nothing, and avoided any controversy, as well as preventing a sticky situation for trans people. In fact, one of the reasons I think very few musical artists are talking about this, is only because this was a very quietly made decision, is how many artists came out in the wake of the Supreme Court decision, openly condemning it and its implications. Over 1,000 people in the public eye and musical acts signed an open letter in the aftermath of the decision, claiming it overlooks the need to protect trans, non-binary and intersex people from discrimination. And this was signed by not just queer and feminist activists from across the country, but a number of the biggest names in music, such as Charlie XCX, Self-Esteem and Wolf Alice, although that's not really Download scene. I can't imagine that the artists in the rock scene are thinking any differently, and even though there are a few rock stars who are openly chuds, they are in the minority. At least I hope so. Another trans-friendly bathroom. Who would have thought? In Keir Starmer's Britain, it's almost as if you can't enforce it. Who would have thought? Once this outrage started to take off, turning from a policy hidden in an email to a public backlash, after realizing only a day later that this situation maybe was one that warranted addressing in public, Download Festival responded with a statement which reads as follows. At the heart of Download is acceptance. We stand with all members of our community and want everyone to feel safe, supported and welcome at the festival. We want to reassure all of our customers that at Download, the majority of toilets will be gender neutral and available to all. There will also be single-sex toilets provided. Download Festival has always been and remains for everyone. We sincerely apologise that a previous communication on this was not clear. We are looking forward to seeing you at Download this year. So this does somewhat clarify things, namely that, as always, the majority of toilets will be gender neutral, but it doesn't actually address the problem. It kind of sidesteps it, in a big way. It mentions there will be single-sex toilets that will presumably, given their previous statements, be actively discriminatory against trans people, and will then, of course, require enforcement.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police. Gender police.
Lesbian-only spaces.
Gender police. Gender police.
So yes, you can enjoy the gender-neutral portable toilets with all the hell of that experience. But you can also go, and given they haven't walked back their previous statements except to add that there will be gender-neutral toilets, be, presumably, if they are going to enforce this, accosted by the gender police. So, how does this make anything better? Well, according again to NOFX, in direct communication with Download about this, as a performer who this directly affects, who put out this statement before he saw that statement I just read out, they wanted to make clear that they will not be policing the bathrooms at all, and that the customer service person who sent out the original email should never have used that wording in the email. So, nothing is happening? Well then, what the fuck am I even doing here? Well, we don't know. And that's kind of scary given how soon Download Festival is, and how high the stakes are here. The band Witch Fever, who have been active in criticising the decision after it was brought to the public's attention, called this out directly, and took the words basically right out of my mouth, writing on their Instagram, "If the single-sex toilets still follow the EHRC guidelines, this is not good enough. The guidelines define biological sex by a person's chromosomal makeup. We ask you to confirm, how do you plan to enforce these guidelines? Will chromosome tests be conducted outside the toilet facilities? On what grounds will the test be administered? Will a judgment simply be made on how masculine/feminine a person looks? Who will decide this? Will trans men be allowed in the ladies' facilities following this guidance? This is a dangerous rhetoric to take, and not only harmful to all GNC people, but all women, regardless of the gender assigned at birth. How do you plan to keep queer people safe at your festival while implementing transphobic guidelines? Are you at all aware of the unsafe position you put a trans woman in by not letting her rightfully use women's facilities?" Indicating policing transgender people's use of bathrooms, threats of gender police by proxy, doubling back and reiterating that toilets will be, for the most part, gender neutral, and then qualifying behind the scenes that there will be no policing of gendered bathrooms. This whole situation is the perfect case study in what happens when a state tries to enforce a trans bathroom ban. The 2014 North Carolina Bathroom Act, or HB2, which incidentally was the thing that first brought Hunter Schafer to our screens, was shown incredibly quickly to be not just unethical and discriminatory, but completely and utterly unenforceable. There is no way to make a bathroom ban work, and that's without getting into the absolutely unforgivable ethics behind such a decision. Over 10 years later, and the UK, as usual, learned all the wrong lessons from recent history. And this is on full display with what happens when a British festival has to work out how to appear to follow the EHRC guidance, following the Supreme Court decision, which is misleading, unworkable, and probably illegal, while running an alternative music festival with a massive queer audience and multiple trans performers who can and will make it a problem if you start banning them and people like them from using the fucking bathroom. Download Festival took a massive PR hit for this thing that turned out to possibly be nothing and possibly will make attending the festival as a trans customer or performer a living nightmare. Something they seem to be indicating behind the scenes they have no intention of doing, so is this the public face of this trying to cover their arses? Because in doing that, they've made themselves look pretty awful and pleased absolutely no one. And this will happen more and more to these events. More businesses, more services, until the Supreme Court decision and the EHRC advice following it is reconsidered and reversed. Not only are these bathroom bans entirely unenforceable, they're also a lose-lose proposition for anyone or anything that tries to enforce it. Personally, I just really hope that I can stop talking about bathrooms soon. I don't want to think about piss this much. I'm not one of those girls. So, until the day when I can stop being the trans pee-pee poo-poo news idiot comes, thank you for watching.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, I got pee, 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 I got pee.
Hey, thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. If you like this video, why not like it, leave a comment, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. And give me money because I have none, and I would like to get out of debt. And by debt, I mean my £2,000 overdraft, which I've been in since I was a master's student. So, you know, if people ever tell you academia pays, they're wrong, and they're lying to you. So you can help with that by giving me one-time donations on Ko-fi or PayPal, links below, as always, or you can sign up to my Patreon, where you can get early videos, access to the members-only Discord with a lovely community, my Netted Rich friend code if you're interested in that, and exclusive content such as long-form interviews with previous guests of the show. And in addition to all that good stuff, you'll also, if you sign up, get your name read out at the end of each video, just like these lovely, lovely, lovely people. Lee Wilkins, George Geddes, Kira B, No Sparkling Heart, Corey, Matt J, Martin the Sword, Carolyn, Imogen Q, Luciana Frias Andrade, Adam, Harry, Ndog191, Cav, Cassidy, Azul, Ron, Adam Lees, Daniel Nevels, No Not That Paul, MB, Madeline Aguirre, Ben Murphy, Lex Phoenix, Enthel Kurzit, Smear D, Jade Senior, Bowen E, James W. Marvin, or Foreign Gill, Bob the Builder, 5445554, Deborah Laboon, Vegas, Zilla Zathanium, Vince Whitaker, Amelia Lissette, Jason Haig, Frank McManus, Susan Foster, Helena Real, Sierra Whiskey, Orestria, Ali Catgirl, John N, Lloyd Luciente, Jason Krebert, Shield Thaden, Robin Podolsky, Turtle, Troon, Casual Observer, Manta Ray, Courtney Burmack, Sleepy Slug, Philita Tabraga, Soma Piglet, Brain Douche, Sharty Wolf, Greg Noble, Deanna McMillan, Caroline Regalado, Alexander Lilly, Howard Lott, Neranier, Scarchan, and Joey Coble. Thank you all for supporting me.